Look, I have had this on my mind all week because Bleacher Report is linking veteran pass rusher Kyle Van Noy to the Minnesota Vikings. This report suggests Van Noy could be the perfect missing piece for Brian Flores to bolster our linebacker unit. Adding a proven veteran with his kind of sack production would completely change the identity of our defense against tough division rivals. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. Smash that like button, subscribe, and drop your name and city in the comments. Let's get into it. As we look toward the upcoming season, the Minnesota Vikings defense remains our foundation. But a new report from Bleacher Report has shifted our focus toward the veteran free agent market. Analyst Christopher Knox recently suggested that the Vikings should consider signing veteran linebacker Kyle Van Noy to bolster our defensive front. While we have already brought back Eric Wilson and still rely on Blake Cashman, the potential addition of a seasoned pass rush specialist like Van Noy has certainly caught our attention. During his time with the Ravens over the last 3 seasons, Van Noy recorded 23.5 sacks and 54 quarterback pressures, showcasing the kind of versatility that could thrive in coordinator Brian Flores' aggressive scheme. What makes this even bigger is the tactical flexibility he offers. Knox notes that Van Noy could effectively fill that hybrid middle and edge role currently occupied by Ivan Pace Jr. For us fans, the thought of adding a proven veteran who has spent 12 years in this league is quite compelling, especially when considering the need to contain talented running backs in our division like DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, and Jahmyr Gibbs. While this is currently just a projection from an outside analyst rather than a confirmed roster move by general manager Nolan Teasley, the suggestion resonates because it addresses a clear need for increased depth and experience. Our fan base is rightfully protective of this defensive identity, and there is a palpable sense of curiosity about whether adding a veteran piece like this would actually stabilize the middle of the field, or if it might disrupt the development of our younger, homegrown talent. Does adding a high-profile veteran actually improve our defensive ceiling? Or are we better off betting on the players already in the building to carry the load this year? Kyle Van Noy is currently sitting as an unsigned free agent, and the possibility of him joining our Vikings defense is the most intriguing development for this roster right now. This potential move follows the team bringing back Eric Wilson in free agency, which signals a clear desire from ownership and the front office to prioritize veteran depth at linebacker. The backstory here is rooted in the aggressive, scheme-heavy approach mandated by Brian Flores, who values players with the versatility to both stop the run and pressure the pocket. According to Bleacher Report, Van Noy has recorded 23.5 sacks and 54 quarterback pressures over the last 3 seasons with the Ravens, providing a proven track record of productivity that few available veterans can match at this stage of the calendar. And this is the part that gets me. The potential for Van Noy to slide into a middle and edge hybrid role could fundamentally change how we defend against mobile runners like DeAndre Swift and Jahmyr Gibbs. Historically, our organization has leaned on savvy, experienced defenders to solidify the core when a young group needs guidance, much like when we successfully integrated veteran leadership during past defensive overhauls to stabilize our production. Behind closed doors, Nolan Teasley and Kevin O'Connell are likely evaluating whether Van Noy's 12 years of professional experience outweigh the desire to develop younger talent in that specific hybrid slot. If the coaching staff decides his pass rush specialty is the missing piece for the upcoming campaign, we could see a complete transformation in our ability to contain high-powered offenses. Securing a player with his specific physical measurables and defensive pedigree would give Flores the tactical flexibility to keep opposing quarterbacks guessing throughout the entire game, making the decision to pursue him a critical pivot point for our defensive success this year. Strengthening the heart of our defense has become the primary mission as we look to sustain success under coordinator Brian Flores. With the season fast approaching, adding a proven commodity like Kyle Van Noy to our linebacker group could be the final puzzle piece for a unit tasked with stopping high-powered offenses. And here's why that's a big deal for our roster depth. By bringing in a veteran with his specific track record of 23.5 sacks and 54 quarterback pressures over the last 3 seasons, we gain a versatile weapon capable of filling that vital middle and edge hybrid role. This move allows us to rotate players more effectively, keeping our veterans fresh while maximizing the impact of guys like Eric Wilson and Blake Cashman throughout the grueling 17-game schedule. When we look at our upcoming slate, the ability to contain dynamic runners becomes paramount, especially when we prepare to face the talented backfields of the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and the Chicago Bears. Having a disciplined defender like Van Noy, who understands how to operate in diverse defensive schemes, gives us a distinct tactical advantage during those physical divisional clashes. These games usually come down to a few key stops in the final quarter, and having a reliable pass rush specialist on the field could prevent those late-game drives that have haunted us in years past. By fortifying the linebacker core now, we increase our defensive floor and solidify our standing as a true contender for the playoffs. This isn't just about adding another name to the jersey list. It is about providing Flores the necessary tools to keep opposing quarterbacks uncomfortable, and our own defensive unit ranked among the best in the league when it matters most in January. The Minnesota Vikings defense relies heavily on the aggressive philosophy of coordinator Brian Flores, and the potential addition of veteran linebacker Kyle Van Noy creates a fascinating debate for our roster. Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report suggests that adding a player with 23.5 sacks and 54 quarterback pressures over his last 3 seasons with the Ravens would provide massive upside, particularly in the hybrid role currently occupied by Ivan Pace Jr. Bringing in a veteran of Van Noy's experience would significantly bolster our ability to contain mobile running backs like DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, and Jahmyr Gibbs, giving us a tactical advantage within the division. And honestly, the versatility he displayed during his 12-year career suggests he could handle multiple assignments, allowing Flores to disguise blitz packages with even greater complexity. However, we must consider the downside, as relying on older veterans can sometimes hinder the development of younger talent who need those snaps to reach their potential. While Bleacher Report points to Van Noy as a top free agent, he is not the only name connected to these types of defensive needs, as various outlets have also speculated about other available veterans who could provide similar depth. Here's where I land on this. While the statistical production from his time in Baltimore is undeniable, I find the idea that he would immediately surpass the impact of our younger, hungry core to be a bit optimistic. We should prioritize the development of the players already in our locker room, rather than searching for a quick fix that might lack long-term sustainability. We have a solid foundation with Eric Wilson and Blake Cashman, so while the prospect of an experienced specialist is intriguing, I suspect the front office will remain cautious before committing to such a move this late in the summer. The recent interest in veteran Kyle Van Noy signifies a clear commitment from our organization to prioritize tactical flexibility under coordinator Brian Flores. By targeting a player who logged 23.5 sacks and 54 quarterback pressures over the last 3 seasons with the Ravens, our front office is signaling that they are not satisfied with merely being good on defense. They are hunting for ways to dominate the line of scrimmage. This strategy suggests that over the next few seasons, the Vikings intend to maintain a hyper-aggressive identity that forces opposing offenses to account for multiple threats. What nobody is talking about is how this move would stabilize the middle and edge hybrid roles, potentially providing the veteran presence required to neutralize elite running backs like Josh Jacobs or DeAndre Swift. As fans, you should feel a genuine sense of optimism, because this approach demonstrates that General Manager Nolan Teasley and our leadership team are actively identifying specific gaps and filling them with proven talent before the season kicks off. Having a reliable hand like Van Noy could be the missing piece to elevate this defense into a top-tier unit that dictates the pace of every game. It is comforting to see the team aggressively pursuing upgrades rather than resting on the success of last year. We are building a defensive identity that respects the physical reality of the modern NFL while keeping our opponents guessing at every turn. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on this potential move. Would you rather see our team sign Kyle Van Noy for his experience or prioritize younger, developing talents for that specific hybrid defensive role? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Skol! I'll see you in the next one.